All right. Okay, so I've just got a few examples I just want to show you guys quickly today. These are composites that I created in Photoshop and then used optics to kind of enhance them. So these are flattened just for the sake of performance on the computer because some of my composites ends up with hundreds of layers. This one wasn't; it was maybe like 20 layers or something, 30, I don't know, but so I've just kind of flattened them for performance, and also I just want to kind of show some of the things. So I've been using optics for a little while now, but the optics 2022 that just came out, I think I've just had a few days to kind of kick the tires on it, and I'm really excited, super excited about the sort of things we can do. And so I just, just in a couple of minutes, I'm able to do these kind of things to enhance my work. So why don't I just kind of go in and show you what I'm doing here. So when we go into filters, and obviously I'm working from Photoshop, which I spend most of my life. I write my shopping list in Photoshop. So let's just go to the optics here. It's kind of funny because I know accountants that write books in Excel. It's so one of the things that I kind of like here that's new is in the past, I believe it just loaded up and then I would have to reset all the time. So this gives me the option to continue with my previous settings, which means, whatever I did on my previous image, I can do exactly the same thing here, or start with the stack and use that to experiment and just kind of make a variation of it. But so I'm just going to start with no, and it's just going to go by default. Now let me maximize the screen here. And one of the things I'm going to hold down the Alt or the Option key, and I'm just going to fill it. I personally don't like the full screen mode, but it has a full screen mode where it will just get rid of the menu bar. But for me on the Mac, sometimes with the spaces and especially doing live streams and stuff like that, it can get really confusing. So that's why I'm running it like this. All right. So I am super excited about particle illusion, obviously. When Ross told me this was coming a little while ago into optics for Photoshop, I was like, yes, because particles are just for the kind of work I like to do. I love sci-fi and stuff like that, and kind of create these kind of fantasy things. I'm just super excited because I used to have to either find overlays or different things for these or create these. Believe it or not, a lot of these type of effects I used to create from scratch, and it would take forever. So one of the ones that just got hit on a little bit was the HUDs. So I'm gonna just talk about these for this particular image because that's just kind of what I used there. But I used to create these in Photoshop from scratch, and oh my, it would take so long. Uh, and so this is a kind of a cyberpunk 2077 kind of scene I'm doing here. And so being able to just add these, if I wanted to make it look like a video game, I can grab these kind of HUDs immediately. I can reposition them wherever I want. And then the other thing that's kind of nice about the time on here is as we go through time, these HUDs can actually change. So the display on these will update to reflect different times, and so that's kind of fun. And some of these will change a lot more than others. So you can just kind of go through these. So yeah, these could be animated, which I'm looking forward to kicking over the tires a little bit more in the animation. But then there's also things like these. Like here, I just did an overlay in Photoshop. I could have, created this using the HUDs, and then of course we've got the option to change things in there. World transform is how you are going to rotate and scale. And this is something Photoshop users are probably going to do a lot of. So I'm just going to do a master scale, and I could just scale this down, and I could reposition this, put on a sidewalk. I can go into the compositing, change the tint colors, different things like that. So I love the ability of being able to go in these and modify them. So it's not just a matter of having these cool tools in here, but being able to go in and if I want to put a glow on it, different things like that, these tools are right there. Now, once you've positioned it, the nice thing I like about it too is I can go and I can try different elements, and they're going to stay and they're going to maintain the scaling, they're going to maintain the positioning that I've done in here. And and the other thing that's kind of neat is if you wanted to build your own huts, which I've done a lot, I can take these different elements in here and I could start to, stack them. Let me just go here, create a new one, and go in and start to stack these on top of each other. Where my HUDs go? It's funny when you change the resolution. So I'm used to working in 4K, just so you know, and I know normally your muscle memory is like, okay, I click right here and the HUD's here, but now I'm 1080. It's not. It's in the second row. So if I'm hunting around, that's why. So you can go in and you can create all these different elements. So you could start to build your own heads-up displays, which is kind of fun. If you want a video game look, or you want to integrate this into the scene. So, say for example, because it's a futuristic, scene from a, you know, kind of cyberpunk kind of thing. It's fun. Let me just take that scale down a little bit, and and I might just position it somewhere on the image. Like, I don't know. I'm just gonna throw it here. So I'm not doing anything particular here. I just want to kind of show you just the process. So it's just fun. You're experimenting, you're playing around, and you've just got all these neat tools. Now, obviously, I can apply, lens flares and glows and all kinds of things. Let me throw a layer on top just because I will. The first thing that really got me excited about optics in the first version was the lens flares, because if any of you have ever used Photoshop, there's basically a few lens flares, and you're allowed to use them once in your career because it's that red default Photoshop lens flare. It looks a little bit like this one, but this one's better. So, once you've applied, you've used that lens flare in Photoshop, it's like, oh no, it's the default Photoshop lens flare. But yet, J.J. Abrams came along and canonized the lens flare. And now, if you want to be trendy or cool, you've got to be using lens flares. So as you can see here, we have the ability to, change some of these on screen. So we can drag, we can change the size. There's different things we can, change in here. Let me just pop this over here. I don't know. I'm just playing around. And we've just got the ability to go in and change almost anything inside these lens flares. So, we can change the rays, the thicknesses, the hot spots, all these different parts. So if the hot spot, if I wanted to make that like more blue, you just can't do these kind of things with overlays. Well, I mean, I guess you could, but it would be really, really painful to do that in Photoshop. So I just love the fact that we can apply these effects very quickly. And another thing with the UI update, before there used to be these icons up here that, Photoshop users, people used to, Boris FX probably knew what they meant, but Photoshop users didn't. And now we've got a cancel, apply, and a reset button, which is just wonderful because it's just, very intuitive now. So I like the UI changes. So let's just move in a different image here just to kind of show you some of the other groups. And, we'll touch on a couple of these here, just kind of showing you what we're doing. This is another composite that I did. This is a violinist, Taylor Davis. She's on YouTube. She has a channel. It's like 3 million subscribers. She's an incredible musician with a great following. And so I did a photo shoot with her and some compositing. And so, we wanted to add a little bit of, life. And once again, these are the kind of things I would either sit there for hours in Photoshop creating, or I would, take photographs or try and find overlays or, different add-ons. It was mentioned earlier on, I've got a whole hard drive full of, add-ons and different things like that, that fortunately, am I ever going to use them again? I don't know. To be honest, I'm just having so much fun in here that, everything I need that I would do is here, or I can create it. And I feel like, at the moment, I'll be honest, compared to everybody else that's been on here today, I'm a beginner here in optics, and I'm just amazed at the different types of things that it has here. So say I want to put some magic on the magic wand, I can go in here and I can rotate. So, ask me again in 6 months. And, once I've had a chance to explore all the goodies in here, I'm like a kid in a candy shop, to be honest, right now. So, hey, I want this, maybe it's still too big, but I love the ability to just quickly change these. And then also, if I don't necessarily like the way that looks, let me zoom in a little bit. and spacebar lets me move around just like in Photoshop. Nice. So let's go and look at this at a different time. Maybe that's not quite what I want, so I'm going to take it back a little bit and see how it just changes over time. Now, you can go into the particle illusion and, create an animation out of this, which I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be creating some cinemagraphs and whoa, I did something crazy there. I think I zoomed way in. Another thing that hasn't really been mentioned is, you know, I see a use for this for things like NFTs. I know people, you know, um, interesting thing I was looking at yesterday, a statistic. I don't know if you guys realize, but 1/4 of the world's art, like the world's art, including paintings, last year was NFTs. So, if you haven't heard of them yet, you are going to at some point. And so we can create these animations, and so that's just another area that I'm going to be using this in. But what about stuff like, we got the dragons here, and we want something like some fire. I'm going to go in here. We've got all these emitters. We've got nature. We've got fire. So, I could create this crazy, explosion if I wanted, or just go in and create these fire effects. Now, let's just find some different ones. And as you can see, we can start with these presets. The presets are great. It's not going to get you all the way there. It might actually, in some cases, it might get you all the way there. But I like to use it as, hey, what kind of fire do I want? So you can go and find, just the basics of where you think you want to start. And then you can position them. I've gone into the wrong window here. Let me get up here. And once again, I'm not as good at this as some of the people in here. So I can go in here and I can reposition. Notice as I do, it also adapts. See how it's not just staying the same. It's adapting, as if it's in a 360-degree environment. So we can go and we can change different things. We can change the properties of here. Um, so for example, I want to put some weight to it. See how that can make it go up or down, so it just comes straight out, or now it kind of comes down. I can spin it. I can change. See how it's changing the flame, so you can literally go in and change pretty much anything you want. And I'm just going to go into the world transformers where you will, things like scale and rotate. So I could, maybe rotate this around and make it look like I've got more of the fire, kind of coming from the dragon. I can put explosions. Let me just show you another thing that's just for fun. I'm just going to do this big, huge explosion, and I'm just going to put it over here. Just because I want to show you how nice it is to be able to do masking in here. Now, generally speaking, when I'm working on these, I'm going to be working on multiple layers. So I might put this on a separate layer than I would with my model Taylor here. But I just want to show you how it would work. So if I wanted to mask something out, I'm going to pop in there, and there's different types of masks. One of them is the easy mask, which was shown, and it's really simple to use. You just paint with green on the areas that you want to keep. And I'm definitely going to be doing more, with these masks with some different things in Photoshop as well, because sometimes, the Photoshop masks are great, but it's always nice to have the other options. And I'm going to choose the mask on the outside here. And of course, I can change the brush size. It's the same keyboard shortcut as Photoshop, just the bracket key, left to right bracket key makes it bigger or smaller. And I can say, hey, the red area is the area I don't want to include. The green area is the area I do want to include. And then I can turn this mask on. I can generate the mask. All right, so now that we've generated this mask, and as mentioned, we can turn our overlays on and off. Notice that our fire effect is just on a model. That's not what I want, so I'm going to hit the invert. And now I can create these effects behind her model, and it's not affecting her anymore. If I wanted to, do that with the same thing with the dragon, I could as well. But I'd be more likely, just to put the dragon on a different layer and just kind of pop it in. But I wanted to show you, look how good those masks are. They actually work really well. And the nice thing about it is once I've created this mask and I want to try different things, like, maybe I want to have some ember, kind of overlays. Look at this. It respects that mask. and I can keep using it for different things. So, you know, say for example, let's go back to that big fire effect here. And I'm going to create a new layer now, or a new effect layer. And I want to put something else on here. Let's put some smoke on here. So look at this. We can create these really cool, you know, smokes and atmospheres and, you know, just lots and lots of things. But if you didn't want the smoke covering your model, I can actually just take the mask and I can just drag the mask, and look at that. I can just copy that mask from any one of these layers and just reuse it. So, you know, I just find that a huge time saver. Just kind of, you know, just quickly trying some things. You know, I could put anything I want on here, and look at that. See how that mask is just going to remember it. So it's very cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get out of here. I don't want to save that. And let's just do one more. This is kind of fun. So this is just a really basic. This is a background. It's just from the television center. I actually went to school at Noman School of Visual Effects. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, where I learned 3D and Maya and that. So a lot of the 3D knowledge I have does come through into Photoshop. So here's a photograph. This is Lena, was my model. I shot her in my studio. And I'll do this a lot, is I'll just shoot in the studio. And sometimes I'll match the lighting. In this case, it was actually for a different background, but I just want to show you here. You know, I'll match the background lighting in the studio, and I'll just kind of set up lights and then replicate that and then put effects on here. So let's have a look. And so this time I am going to work on a separate layer. So I'm going to work with the layer here with Lena on here. And let's go into the filter, and let me just, I'm not going to create a mask because Ross already showed that, but that was one of the nice things. If you create a mask here, you can apply that mask, and it's just, and then of course, once you're back in Photoshop, you can modify that mask and use it like you would any other mask inside of Photoshop. The other thing this will also work nicely with is smart objects, but let's just go in, and just for the sake of, you know, speed and time, I'm just going to go in here, and we're just going to do this layer with Lena. I'm not going to apply the previous one. And something else that was mentioned is the, let's go in here and scroll through. Now, once again, I'm on this weird screen resolution. So how do I scroll across here on the screen res? So I'm used to, oh, here we go. Scroll here. No. We're good. We're going to be fine. Okay, so let's go across. I'm looking for, we've got all these different ones. Now, there's so many different options, and this is where we scroll here. So that's where I was getting confused, because I'm used to everything on a large screen, once again, just scrolling across here. So we've got the zap and the ultra zap effects. So I don't know if any of you used zap before. I used the zap before to, you know, kind of create some lightning, and, you know, you can kind of create these cool effects. And I kind of, I'll be honest, for the kind of things I was looking for, it was kind of a little bit mixed. But then when they mentioned Ultra Zap that is here now, it's just something about this is giving me the kind of lightning effects that I was looking for. And you know, you can just control, you know, the angles, you know, you can wrap them around. We can do different things. So why don't we just do some basic there, maybe increase the amount of bolts, so we get some really crazy lightning. And notice how the glow is affecting the model underneath. It's affecting her face. We're getting everything we want here. Let me put a little bit more blue into the start color, and see how you can change everything, absolutely everything. Now, I shot this particular shot of Lena with her hand open, and the intention of this was to create this evil kind of character, and I was going to put a fireball in her hand. Now, I actually shot this before I was playing around with optics, you know, this new version of optics with particle illusion. And so I spent some time trying to create different types of bowls and bowls of fire and all these kind of things. But now they're right here. And so this is really cool. Under the magic, you know, we can do things like, I don't know, we've got the healing sphere here, or the life pulse. We've got all kinds of different ones. Let me just put this on the screen so we can see it right there. Now, if I grab the little move tool, let me grab the filter, make sure, once again, you know, I don't see how I'm zooming in and out here. I'm messing myself up because I don't do this normally. I normally just work on the largest screen. Let me get the effect here. I believe I click on the effect. How do I get back to the moving the effect here? I am
Just click on that again. It should go away. Click on the move arrow button again.
on there.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. All right, now we've got it. Okay, so I can reposition this, and as I say, I've only been playing with this the new version for just a few days, so I'm not quite a perfect expert on this just yet. But look at this. So I can change things like this now. I can go in here and let me change the size of this here. Let's go into the transform, and I'm going to take the master scale down. I want to make it a little bit smaller. So the nice thing about this is once I've positioned this, now I can go through and I can audition all these different types of effects. Look at this. These are just so cool. And and if for those of you Photoshop users, I mean, look at this. This is imagine, remember how we used to do this like last week? This is, to me is just I'm super excited. Look at that. I just, I could sit here all day just playing around with these different types of effects. I think I like that one there. And, and then when I want to apply it, I just simply click apply. And this is going to pop it into my composite there. Look at there. There we go. And so now if I wanted to put all of this together, I just select both of these layers. I'm just going to create a composite layer, which is just, holding down Alt Option Shift. And then I create that on a new layer. And now I can go back in and, put some kind of finishing effects on here. So, this will give me the ability. Do I want to apply this again? No, I'm just going to do something else. I don't know, maybe some color effects. We've got the ability to just go in and do this, or the film labs, different filmic looks, cross processing, and there's just endless amounts of, types of, effects and film stocks and all these things. I know a lot of photographers who are interested just for this, because I don't know if you guys seen there's other filters that you can buy, where they give you like 10 filters or 20 filters or whatever. And this is just hundreds and hundreds of these, but it's not only that I'm able to go in there, I'm able to change anything. Look at this. So I'm just using the presets here. I'm able to go in and change the color of any of these. We've got our tints. I love some of these gradients, some of these grad gradients and stuff like that. These are kind of fun. And so, I'm just basically showing you just simple ones. And of course, we've got the color correction here from different movie effects, TV shows. And let me just pull the presets up and you can see, you know, find an effect and we can literally just apply these. There's obviously this doesn't look anything like Titanic, but it doesn't have to be, um, a ship or whatever to use these kind of effects. And the nice thing is we can go in here, we can layer these over the top of each other. We can render them, we can stylize them. And you've just got all these different types of effects that we can apply. But one of the things I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply this because I want to show you something, because maybe that effect is a little, and you're like, well, that effect was a little bit stronger than what I was looking for. Well, the nice thing about that is that when we go into Photoshop, we can use all our blending modes in here. So if I only wanted to apply this maybe to our lighter part, I can hit the lighten blend mode here, and so I can just apply it to certain parts of the image. I can just take the color from it. So, hey, I only want to use this color, so I'm only changing the color. Or maybe I want to change the luminosity and not affect the color. So, you have the ability to do that, using blending modes. The visual effects world, they call these transfer modes, which is probably what you guys call them. And, we can go in and we can change the opacity. So if something is a little too strong or you don't quite like the way it looks, you have the ability to go in here and change all these afterwards. So that's one of the nice things I like about this. So, that's really what I just wanted to show. And then the other thing is kind of really quite surprising is how good these masks are. So let me just quickly, I'm just going to show you a mask. So if you create that mask inside of Photoshop and then we go into optics here. So this is something more, for your um, still artists, photographers. I don't want to apply the previous filter. I want to go in here and I want to use the mask. So I'm going to create a mask. And by the way, look at the different types of masks we have. So I don't know, sometimes you create a layer mask, you add a gradient, all that's built in here. And, you can paint, you can do all the usual things, you can do selections, but we're going to use the easy mask. And I really am quite impressed with the quality of this. So here's the thing. So if I apply this mask, and then I'm going to say, hey, that's the inside, this is the outside, the area I don't want to keep. And then I can preview the mask here. We're going to apply it. So one of the nice things about this is, I can go in and I can see the mask and I can be like, oh no, I needed to take a little bit away from there. Okay, cool, no problem. Just paint with the red there. I can regenerate it. And so this is one of the things I do a lot is when I'm working is I'll just audition the mask and say, you know what, I need to keep a little bit more of that hair there. That shouldn't be transparency. And just I can look at the mask here and just keep updating it and working on it while I'm working live here. Like, oh, that edge there should be a little bit harder there. I don't want that semi-transparent. Look at that. I can just clean up that mask, and then when I'm done, I can just hit here. I want to export the mask, turn on the mask, apply it, and there we are. Now we're in Photoshop. We've got that mask. But the nice thing about it is if I hit the Alt or the Option key, I can click it. We can see, look, there's the mask. I want to tweak this mask. No problem. I can use Photoshop's tools, Control L for level, and I can choke this, meaning that these areas should be black. Well, okay, we'll make them black. I can go in there. The areas that are not quite white, I can go in there, and I can refine this mask. Look at this. I can go in and clean it up, refine it right here inside of Photoshop. I like to use, obviously I'm a huge Photoshop fan, so I like to be able to use the tools in Photoshop along with the tools in Optics. Now, of course, you can do it all in Optics, um, or you can do it all in Photoshop, but using the two together is just really nice for one, being able to create effects and special effects, different things like that, and then different film grades, which are very realistic. The film grades themselves are, they look like real film in a way that I think some of the other filters and overlays and things like that don't really do it. Well, let me just go, and once again, since we're talking about those, let me go into the film grades. Let me just grab just a basic picture. Let me just grab this one just to show you. So we go in here and let's just look at those. We can go into Film Lab here. We do not want to apply the previous one. So in the Film Lab, we've got all kinds of things. We've got the stock. Look at this. We can apply these. And once again, the other thing is I can adjust the opacity right here too inside Optics. So if I'm like, hey, that's a little much, I might need to, just pull it back. Look at this. See, I can just dial it in. I can, apply a different blending mode. So you have the ability to do that too right here, which is just beautiful. I love that. Let me just go back to the normal blend mode. And of course, once I've done that, I can audition different images or different looks right here. Look at just endless. We got the one from Blade Runner there. And then, the film Damage is another kind of cool one. This is something I actually used the video version of this from, I believe, from is it Sapphire Continuum? I actually used that for one of my clients, David Lee Roth. I created the commercials for his show, so shot all those, and then I edited the video. And the video, if you guys ever saw it on Live Nation or anything like that, I was using these effects, and they were just so easy to just add, like this, and just having the ability. It's like, oh, hey, this is cool, but maybe some of these the hair is a little much. Okay, no problem. You can go in here and you can dial those down. Look at that. So you've got the ability to play around with the different parts of it and just control it. So it's like, I like that, but I didn't like the hairs. I just want the scratches. Maybe we're going for American Horror Story kind of thing. Okay, so we'll do that and then throw a, cross process look on top of it just very quickly. and you can just change the mood, the feel of this. Just, you know, I'm just really loving this. I can just sit here and I can just play around all day if I wanted. Just and that's what a lot of it is really is
We're
just
back to that play. We're back to
exploring.
that play word again, aren't we? This
Yeah,
is something that sort of come up quite a lot. Is that it's actually just so much fun to just go through and have a play and see what things are doing.
yeah,
I liked what you were doing with the color just there, because that's one of my favorite things that I like to do with in Photoshop, was to smack on like this really heavy color effect, blend it down to like 10%, and then stick a blend mode on there, like a soft light or something, or even just like color, just so I'm just tweaking the colors up. And we being able to do that just in optics is actually really nice as well, because that's sort of sort of making it easy to do one of my favorite tricks with like 600 presets already ready to go. It's a bit of a
yeah,
time saver.
absolutely. And this is something that I would do a lot too in Photoshop is apply the black and white and then just roll it back and just let a little bit of color come
Yeah,
through. So, here being able to use the film
so
stocks
nice.
with the looks together is just, it's super nice. You can just keep adding layers and adding to it. But the nice thing about it too is if I like this and I'm like, you know what, that's awesome. This is how I wanted to do this picture. And then, I've got another picture here. Let me just hide the mask. And, hey, I want to apply this same effect. I can just go in here. And of course, I can create my own presets as well. But if I go in here, it says, do I want to load the previous ones? Yeah. And then boom, I've got the, exact same effect there. And I can just apply. That's kind of interesting because it's kind of a pinup kind of look. It's kind of vintage, kind of fun look there. Um, you know, So I probably should have got rid of the mask if I want to apply it to the whole thing. But I don't mind that because that could create a background
It's
in
kind of
there
fun.
now too. There's all kinds of stuff we could do. Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty
That's
much
that's
what I
cool.
wanted to show you guys today.